It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of our radio affiliates in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week, and certainly the staff here at Fairfield Christian Academy, and Kelly Roberts, our executive producer. This week we've got a great guest. We have Chief Mike Tussey with the Baltimore Police Department. Glad to have you here, Chief.
Well, thanks for asking.
Yeah, and kind of late notice. I know we have lunch after the program, so have you come in a little bit earlier and tape this. What's going on in Baltimore?
Well, school has started, so we're pretty busy with that. A lot of changes. We have a new school security officer at the high school, so we're going through those growing pains of him becoming accustomed to where all the lockers and all that sort of thing is at. We just started a block watch, and we've had our first 2 meetings for that, so that's coming along pretty well. And then just your typical everyday, calls for service that seem to really pick up this time of year.
Right, as school begins and everything. And you have school resource officers, in 2 schools now?
Right, we've had a DARE officer for, well, it's hard to believe, I guess this is going on the 5th year now.
Okay.
And he's worked as a DARE/school resource. And with some of the tragic events that happened over the last couple of years, there was some concern started really with the parents and then through the school about how much security do we need. So we sat down and had a long conversation, and at that point the school decided that they would like to add another security person, SRO, to the high school.
So what are some of the responsibilities of your school resource officers in Baltimore?
Well, it's really kind of far-reaching, and I think a lot of people don't really understand what that is. Basically, they're there for security above all. In other words, anyone that enters the school, anyone that would trespass at the school, anyone that would come to the school to cause any issues, they're the first line of defense, so to speak. But maybe even more importantly in that, they're a conduit for the students that may be having problems and are not really sure who to go to. So they can come talk to the school resource officer in confidence, and then we can refer them to different family services, social services. Maybe in many cases, the school resource officers will sit down with the parents and the child and have a discussion about things that are affecting the child on a daily basis.
I read some time ago, when you look at school resource officers across the United States, when you look at school shootings, that really it's one of the major deterrents to school shootings when you have a school resource officer on the school grounds or in the school.
And that's absolutely right. And one of the things that we do, and it's a part of it,
right,
is that school resource officer has a marked cruiser that is parked directly in front of the school. So the first thing you see when you pull in that lot would be that there is a police presence there. And I think that it does a lot of things. Number one, it is a huge deterrent. But secondly, I think it puts a lot of parents' minds at ease. Not to mention the people that are employees
right,
there.
The staff, sure.
Certainly. And we get a lot of compliments back from the staff on how much easier it is to do their job without having to think about all the things that could go on.
Yeah. Great program. And the other addition of that is you had your video system,
mm-hmm.
and that was really kind of unique to you guys when you started that, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'd looked into the fact that, and as everyone knows, we're a smaller agency. So how do you have virtual police? And some people look at that as a bad term, but really what we were saying with that is, how do we stretch our resources to give more back for the buck that's being paid? So we began to look at the ability to have cameras inside the school that any officer, not just a resource officer, can pull up and view anywhere in any school at any time. We approached a couple different companies, and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. So Lieutenant Jason Hargett, who is in charge of all the school safety and all those projects, he was able to research it and come up with a solution. Really cost us zero if you really get right down to it. And what it comes down to is most all schools have camera systems already in place. It's a matter of marrying those to our computer systems we have at the police department. So as I'm driving around in my cruiser, if I get a call and it says, you know, we have a disturbance in the lunchroom at the high school, I simply click on my screen and there's the video from the high school. So I'm observing what's going on as I'm
real
driving.
time.
In real time. In real
Wow,
time.
just absolutely amazing. I bet, has anyone else called you and said, let's try that?
You know, it's kind of interesting. And I didn't realize this, but we were contacted by CNN, and they did a story on it and said that we were the only operational agency in the United States that had that up and running. And then after that, we probably received about 12 different calls. And it was kind of interesting. Most of these agencies were 100 times larger than we were,
right,
and have been going down the path of we need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this done. So
right,
hopefully we got them on the right track.
You know what? You talk about CNN, it just came to mind. A few years ago, you never know what's going to interest a national media outlet, but we had a golf cart that we put in Bremen, just to kind of save money because it was time when there was a budget cut. So we said, well, this is a community where that would probably work. And so I got a call from CNN, and they did a story on the golf cart in Bremen. So, anyway, recently, you guys led the way on a major arrest on a string of burglaries that had not only been troubling Baltimore, but throughout the county and beyond. Tell us a little bit about that.
And back to the block watch concept, one of the things we really sell to the public as hard as we can is, you know, we're all in this together and we really need your help, and who better to tell us what's going on in a neighborhood than the people that live there.
Right.
And as a part of that, we had a lady who said, you know, there's two guys that I've never seen before. They're at a house that I know is for sale, no one lives there, and they're doing something to the air conditioning unit. So the only thing she did that we cautioned her about in the future, she decided to go and investigate.
Okay.
And but she's rather feisty. I think they would have had their hands full. But she went over and had a conversation with them, and they admitted that they were stealing this air conditioning unit, or trying to. And of course they ran away, and we got some cars in the area. And in 24 hours we were able to develop who they were. And bring them in, and at that point, when they began to talk to us, we realized, as you said, this was countywide, and, you know, Licking County, and I mean, it's really a lot more than we had thought. So we contacted your office. Your detective bureau, by the way, is top notch. They came out, gave us all the assistance we could ever possibly want, and we did it as a joint effort. And I think the count right now that is actually solved is somewhere around 16 that are solved, but there's more to come, I firmly believe.
And I think two things come to mind. The first thing, how important it is when citizens see something suspicious to let us know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, that's one of the things that we really sell on a daily basis. When we have talks, when we go to the senior citizens, have talks to them, you know your neighbors, know who's next door, know when they go to work, know when they may be there or may not be there, when's a car suspicious, and call us. Let us come down and check that. And it's really led to some really good breakthroughs for us in the past.
Yeah, and I tell citizens we would rather go out a dozen times and have nothing be there than to have that one time where you just say, oh, what's going on over there? But I don't want to bother the police. I don't want to bother the sheriff's office and have someone not call. I'd rather say, please call us, and we'd rather come out many times on false calls rather than miss that one where we have an actual burglar in the area.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, I think it spreads once somebody says, or the people that are watching this today, once they understand that this really came to pass because of somebody saying, I care enough to call.
That's right.
So I think that it spreads, and then people say, well, maybe I need to call too. So it really is it's a good thing, and the more we educate people, I think the better it is for the police and the people we serve.
Yeah, and then the second point that comes to mind, not only the fact that it's important for neighbors to call, but when you look at the people involved in this, how so much of our crimes caused by just a small percentage of people, but they're involved in a disproportionate amount of criminality throughout our neighborhoods, throughout our communities.
And it's like these two guys that we were able to identify in this string of burglaries. You know, the sad part about this is, and you and I have had this conversation, the first thing that they both admitted to us is that the only reason they were committing these crimes is because they were both heroin addicted. And the one said to us, you know, I don't know what will come of this. I know everything we did was wrong, but maybe somebody can help me. I don't want to live this way. Heroin is a terrible epidemic nationwide, not just here, but it can be small towns, big towns, cities, it can be anywhere.
Yeah, that reminded me of years ago. Before I was the sheriff, I worked in the Narcotics Bureau with the Columbus Police Department. I was a lieutenant there. And I can remember on occasion when we would arrest some big drug dealer and they would say, I'm glad it's over. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being scared. I'm tired of, you know, all the things that go along with the criminal component here in my life. And it was just actually almost a sense of relief. And I thought that was pretty interesting even back then.
Yeah, and you know, the whole drug culture is such that in today's world, they are constantly, the people that sell the drugs are constantly looking for new clientele, and they sell it as a well, you can do this once and you'll be okay,
right?
Or you can do this recreationally and you'll be okay. And clearly, anyone that's been around this for a long time knows that's just simply not true. And the sad part of it is I can remember, because I know I've I'm almost into my 40th year, and I know you are at that point. I can remember back in the day when heroin, a street officer, you could go for years and never see heroin. And now I think everywhere you go, people have had experiences with either the arrest of, the paraphernalia with, or whatever, involving crimes with heroin now.
Yeah, that's been a big change. The other change that I've seen is the number of weapons that are out there. My son's a Columbus police officer, and I am just amazed over a given year how many guns they find in people's cars. And it would be a time 30 years ago where we could go a month or so and never find a gun in a car. But now it's just like almost every week they're finding several guns in these cars. So it's a whole different environment out there. And a lot of it's all tied to the drug culture.
Well, it absolutely is. And that, one of the things interesting with a lot of these guns that we see showing up at these crime scenes or in these cars, they're not purchased at your local handy-dandy gun shop. These are stolen out of burglaries. They're traded for dope. That's how they end up in the hands of these people. So, it's just a sad state of affairs. And a lot of these people, when you deal with them, they're not thinking at a functional level like someone whose head is clear. So you have no idea what they're going to do or what threat they make to the citizens or the officer that's with them.
Chief Tussey, we're almost out of time. Boy, that was a quick program. Appreciate all the good information you shared. You're doing a great job along with your officers in Baltimore. We appreciate your almost, 40 years of service. Yes. Long time.
Hard to believe.
Hard to believe. Well, the clock on the wall says we're about out of time. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.
These waters were woven into the culture of Native American tribes. The descendants of the early Europeans built a business here based on agriculture. And today, This unique destination in the central Ohio countryside comes to life with stories and memories centuries old. The Fairfield County Historical Parks invites you to amazing Rock Mill. Above the falls of the Hocking River Gorge, here together, nature and man have created some truly American stories that you'll want to experience with the entire family. Visit us or learn more about Rock Mill and the largest wooden water wheel in the nation at historicalparks.org.